test me. You oughta All right, guys. So again, this is Wales Only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm just gonna go ahead and dive into what the live stream is gonna be about. If you guys got any questions during this chat or talk, definitely throw them in the chat. This is gonna be somewhat technical. I'm gonna try to make it as relatable as possible because that's the whole point. You guys want to know what I have to say because I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up, and that's why we're here. I'm working on a website called wellsonly.com. Right now, it primarily redirects to hex.com. It will ultimately house all of these data points that I'm constructing here just for the benefit of the community because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So this chart says a lot, right? I'm showing you guys a bunch of data, a bunch of metrics, and the whole thing about it is, well, why does it matter? Who am I? Why does what I say carry any weight? And that's what I'm going to start with. So to start, um, I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics from a private university in New York City. Before that, I was in the military for approximately 8 years. So I worked for the federal government for that period of time. And prior to that, I was in high school, like the rest of you. So I joined the military straight out of high school, and I was born and raised in the Bronx in New York City. So, needless to say, I have not had the type of life that really leaves a lot of room for naivety, just any type of negligence. Just it never leads to anything positive. In the type of environments I've had to live in. So with that, I've been relegated and forced to find myself asking questions that people just don't normally have the answers to. For example, why does crypto only go up? That's a question that a lot of people have. They think they understand, but they don't understand it for real. And you guys will come away understanding it uh, in its entirety after this because it's really simple, but it's also not simple, right? Because, like everything else, could you guys let me know if you guys can see and hear me? Apparently, somebody's letting me know that they can't see and hear me. Just to be sure. Thanks. I'll keep talking in the meantime. Um, Sorry about that. Um, so like I was saying, so I really haven't had a lot of room to basically just be ignorant to certain things. Um, and that's okay. Thank you, General. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I haven't really had the room to operate with any margin for error, basically. Right, I grew up in the Bronx, which back in the day was a very hostile environment. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the feedback. Good to know. Um, Grew up in the Bronx where there really isn't any room for, or during a time where it was just not a place where you could just come half stepping, right? You really had to come correct. I mean, shoot, not to brag about it, but I mean, it was a type of environment where you couldn't look at somebody in the wrong way because that would automatically lead to an altercation. So, long story short, I've had to learn how to walk the fine line, the tightrope, and live through it, right? Um, Went to high school in New York, barely made it through that, the teeth of my skin. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I've had to know what I'm talking about. In the military, you cannot. I was in the army, and in the military, you cannot get away with the claim that you were ignorant to something. And and that's something that in the civilian world is an everyday thing. Um, it is something that we all like. I work now. I'm a civilian. I work at a bulge bracket bank on Wall Street. I work on Wall Street. That's something I also failed to mention. I work on Wall Street. I've been on Wall Street for approximately 10, 11 years almost. So, I understand capital markets. I've been involved with capital markets for the entire time. So, a lot of the things that you will hear on Twitter, like Wall Street bets or a Reddit chat room. So let me say that a Reddit chat room manipulating a market. It's cute. I understand the allure to that story, but it's just not reality. A chat room cannot, I repeat, cannot make the market move like that. It's just not how markets work. In fact, the market is so liquid nowadays that to even believe that is shameful, because you have to understand what's actually happening in the markets nowadays is that you have a lot of institutions that are operating from a point in a place of willful ignorance. And that is exactly why stocks like GameStop, AMC, and whatnot, all these stocks have been ripping because these institutions, the hedge funds, are loaded short. So what does that mean? It means that they are holding a position in a stock that they don't actually own, but they're borrowing the shares to sell them short so that they can profit on the down move. That's the purpose, right? And whether it's in an option that's called a put, whether it's in that type of instrument or in the outright stock, right? If you're overloaded on a stock on a position, right? And you're not the only one, right? Because again, a market is comprised of market participants. So it's not just one individual, it's not just one unit. It cannot be. That's not how markets function. It's just not realistic. It's like saying a river is an ocean, basically, right? We all know that's not the case. A lake is not an ocean, a river is not an ocean, a pond is not a lake, and so on and so forth. So that's really the right way to take the point of view to those kind of stories, because the media's angle with that story is to pit people against each other, right? And I understand, like, I work on Wall Street, right? Like, it sounds like I'm being biased, but the reality is that just like in any other industry, right? You're gonna have people within that industry that are not fanatics of finance, trading, markets, or whatever have you, right? They're just there to collect a paycheck. It's not really what their desire in life is, so to speak. They're not there because they enjoy the work. They're there because they're just there to get paid. And, that's a lot of people, a lot of places all over the world, right? And that's what people fail to realize. And I mean, it took me a long time to understand this because, uh, we like to think that people have things figured out because from a young age we're told that that's the case. But I mean, if you sit back and look around, and I learned this at the age of 18, when I found myself in a situation where I had to rely on people that I didn't even know. And that's the kind of situation a lot of people my age, or at the age of that I was at the time, age of 18, 17, when I joined the military, I was 17, right? My 18th birthday, I literally spent it throwing grenades, literally, right? I mean, not many people can say that. So it's just a lot of things that when you tally them up and you look at the situations that we have going on today, I've just had that specific timeline that helps me see a lot of things that most people can't see. And the beautiful thing about it is that a lot of people see a lot of things, but they don't really come with the information to back it up. I'm a person that has a math degree. I went to school for mathematics. And just so you guys can understand the mind, the capacity of the mind, When I was a high school graduate, I did not know how to do any algebra whatsoever. And that is not even an understatement. I graduated high school without knowing how to do algebra. Um, I found myself trying to go work in finance after I got out of the military. And guess what? Your boy didn't know any math, so I had to learn. And that's kind of how I ended up just doing a math degree. I ended up realizing that everything is math and everything else is just trying to explain what math is saying anyway. So you might as well know the math. Everything else is pretty much just, filler. A lot of the things that I'm able to deduce are not by even receiving information. It's really just connecting the dots and filling in the holes, because the reality of the situation is that nothing is a coincidence, right? Nothing in life is a coincidence, because if it was, everybody would have much better luck. And somehow, we all are still working. We all are still looking for that rocket ship, that quasi rocket ship that's going to take us into wealth land, right? And that's what this whole crypto deal is about. And I'm gonna basically explain to you guys why crypto is the highest appreciating asset in the history of man. It's one thing to say it; it's another thing to be able to explain it, right? This isn't, any of those mainstream media channels. Here, you're just gonna get the facts and figures, and I'm hoping to be able to consistently live stream at least 2 times a week. That way, you guys can keep up with the data, keep up with the information, keep up with any new metrics that I might find, any new tidbits any new data nuggets that I might be able to come up with. And yeah, that's just a little introduction into me. Been on Wall Street for 10 years, math degree. I have to show you the data, the information. I have to back up my arguments. I can't just tell you, yeah, 1 + 1 is 2, and that's it. That's not the kind of education I have. It's not how I was taught to present my arguments. So that's, I'm literally almost the antithesis of Wall Street, and yet I work there. So that's why I found Hex. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet, and I'm gonna show you guys why. Richard Hart is a boss, literally. I don't give credit at all ever. So for me to say that is something that's crazy. For me personally, because most people create products to just scam you out of your money, right? That is the complete opposite of what Hex is. Hex was literally designed to pay you double-digit interest, almost regardless of how many people are involved with the project, and now, or product, sorry. Oof, that's a dangerous word. And that's another thing in the crypto industry that we have to be very careful of, right? In crypto markets, unlike the legacy markets, you'll have the term project thrown around. The term project is akin to the term security. Why is that? Well, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard Richard Hart explain many times, uh, a security is a promise of work, promise of gain, of future gains. That's all a security is. So when you're buying a stock, right, on any exchange in the world, and we can talk about the American stock market because most of us probably live in America, given the time during which I'm live streaming right now. In America, you have to register a stock anytime you're going to issue it to investors. Well, not just investors, but to all investors, not just institutions. So to the retail public in conjunction with institutions. So what that means is it has to be presented in a certain way. It has to look a certain way to regulators, and regulators have to approve it. So, with that being said, if you take a look at something like Hex, or if you take a look at Hex, right? Hex is done. There is no work going. There's no ongoing work. There is no promises of any type. There are no future forks, no nothing. I mean, Hex is it. What we have now is what we're going to get. And that is a beautiful thing. Why? Why are we not hype like the rest of the Promise Coin crowd that's getting their coins jacked up 30, 50, 70% in the past week or two? Well, I'm going to show you why. And I mean, look, when I'm done with this damn presentation, you guys are going to you guys are gonna be sleeping good for the foreseeable future, because again, this stuff is not complicated. It's just not well known information, and I'm just here to relay just that. So, with all that being said, let's get this party started and let's get into this first chart. This first chart, let me tell you how I constructed it. I took the data sources from Coinmetrics and CoinGecko and essentially comprise this return stream for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hex in conjunction with the T-share value, all within the first 409 days of Hex going live. And by Hex going live, I mean being able to go onto a market, an exchange, Uniswap, whatever, and actually access it and pay for it and buy it. So the first date that I have on my data set, I think is like 12. I'll tell you right now. I think it is 12. Yep, 12/17, 2019. Just so you guys have a specific point in time to reference with regard to these charts, because it's important. So from December 17th, 2019 to up until today, it has been 409 days that Hex has been live on an exchange. So that's what we're tracking here. Now, interesting tidbit that most might not know. Bitcoin did not have any transactional activity for the first 562 days of its existence. So what does that mean? That means that there was essentially no network activity for the first 562 days. And that's essentially why we see a flat line here. All we really had were 3 transactions. And I mean, the reality is that the transactions that happened on the Bitcoin network prior to the 562nd day, which is like March 3rd, 2011, I think is the date. I don't remember exactly, but I'll get all of that stuff for you guys in a short second. Once it becomes relevant, I'll have that information for you guys. But point here is we're tracking the returns of the 3 behemoths, right? Because the reality is that Ethereum is clearly a security, but it's getting a free pass because the regulators gave it a free pass. It's on record. And that's why Ethereum is the beast behind Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already done and over with, right? We all know where it's going. We all know the stock and flow model charts. We all know all of that stuff. Bitcoin has been around for 11 years. It has many resources upon which you can rely on to let you know where this coin is going to go. Ethereum doesn't have such information, but once Ethereum 2.0 goes 100% live, right, we know that Ethereum is going to also become deflationary, which is going to be brand new, right? That's going to create a network effect that we're not even sure of exactly what the repercussions are going to be, because as of this point in time, the supply of supply of Ethereum is dynamic, right? Like it could literally increase daily, and that's that currently, right? Because there is no limit to the amount of Ethereum that can be mined, and that is what ETH 2.0 is supposed to change in conjunction with all of the gas fees and all that. Meanwhile, there is EIP 1559 in the works, and that is supposed to reduce transaction costs by, just reduce them significantly, right? Because, I saw somebody post an image on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, the day before, where I think the damn gas alone was like $250. I mean, it was something insane. I don't even know. Um, but yeah, so what we're tracking here is the first 409 days for each respective coin: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hex. And for Hex, we're also tracking the returns of the T-share values, right? Because that's important. That's so important that it's more important than Bitcoin, right? Because that is the unique aspect of Hex that no other coin has. Every other coin that claims to be a DeFi yielding coin, whatever you want to call it, it's they're promise coins. That's what they are. They only pay you any type of interest if and only if you submit to paying numerous fees to get your coin in the position to generate yield, right? That is one reality that people have to deal with when they're yield farming and doing all of that other crazy stuff that pays them whatever return it pays them. So, you're over here yield farming, paying all of this money in and out, going in from one protocol to another, trying to find the highest yields. And yeah, sure, I get it. 400% looks good. I get it. But that stuff is all variable, right? It's not concrete. It's not really even based on anything in the network. It's more so a flash. It's more so of a pass by supply demand situation, right? I won't even call it dynamic because dynamism implies a system of some sort. And when you have a system that is constantly changing, not evolving, but changing, there is a significant difference. And the difference there is that something that's evolving has a foundation. Okay? It's very important to understand. Something that's ever changing is just ever changing. That doesn't imply a foundation, because what that means is you can literally take everything, strip it, dump it, put something new on top of it. So while we're used to using words in a very liberal way in America in the 21st century, or just worldwide, just really worldwide, because I've traveled a lot, and some people, certain cultures are very loose with their words. In America, more so than anywhere else, it's very critical that we understand the significance of words when we're talking numbers, because they matter more so than the numbers if you're trying to evaluate a situation. So in this aspect, it's critical to understand that while the other coins have just been around longer, that's literally all they have. And that is literally all you need to understand about what makes Hex different versus the entire crypto market. I mean, if you want to put things right in very concrete terms, and we want to take a hard look at what is an actual market that's ready to go, ready for institutional capital, ready for all the capital, right? The reality is it's not Bitcoin. It's not really even Ethereum. It's actually Hex. The only reason Hex is on the network, as Richard has explained before, is because it's beneficial. And it's pretty clear that it's beneficial. Look at the returns. Not a coincidence. It's merely a function of the network effect and how the coin is designed. And we're going to get into those details shortly. But the important thing to understand from this chart is that we're obliterating everybody. Literally. Right? There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done in its first 400 days. Nobody. So we start with the index of 100, right? 100 is the base. And 100 is the base because I take the return streams and calculate them from 1. It's equivalent to $1. So this is like saying we took $1 and turned it into $3,730. That's a pretty, or $373. That's a pretty good return, right? You're not doing, I mean, we're talking about $1 here, right? That's a lot of money. That's a whole lot of money. And you didn't do any, and you didn't do anything. That's not including interest. That's just plain old capital gains. Plain old capital gains. And we don't even care about capital gains because as long as Hex doesn't move down or up, you're up. So it technically doesn't even matter, right? Like Hex is a weird thing because of that. And that's why it's so complicated for an average person to understand, because you really have to have a perspective of understanding in the first place what an interest rate instrument is, because that's what Hex is. Hex is a financial instrument that pays interest. So what does that mean exactly? That means that over time, if this coin does become supremely popular because it's literally the only thing on the planet that pays a double digit interest, and once everybody finds out, guess what's going to happen? What that means is that interest rates are going to compress. And by compress, I mean we're all going to end up receiving less APY. Is that a bad thing? No, no, it's not a bad thing. And I'll tell you why it's not a bad thing. The reason why it's not a bad thing is because interest rate math is such that if interest rates go down, price goes up. So they're inversely related. And that's exactly why this coin oh man, you guys just wait. I'm getting there. And that's why this coin is going to fly to the moon, right? Like it's a multifaceted coin that doesn't just rely on market action to increase in value. The value proposition of the T share alone puts it ahead of the pack because it actually has a value proposition. And that is the primary difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum versus Hex, right? The difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum is that the value proposition for Ethereum is DeFi. That's it. If it wouldn't be for DeFi and the fact that the new decentralized financial system is being built on top of Ethereum, Ethereum wouldn't matter as much either, as far as competing with Hex goes. But because it is the equivalent of a MasterCard for us, and we're just one operator, right? Because we're just one operator on the Ethereum network, we just benefit from being on the network, just like everybody else benefits from being on the network. But here's the beautiful thing about it, and I'll get some data to show you guys this in the future, because you know people have been upset and they just don't understand, and it again it's easy to understand why people don't understand this product, right? It literally started out and dumped right away, like every coin does, pretty much. Um, and it had its first 3 weeks of pain. First 3 weeks of pain. And this is standard for every crypto if you look across the board. They all come out, they dump, and then to the moon if they're going to go to the moon, right? And how they get to the moon is dependent on a few things, and we're going to get into that shortly. But I mean, the important thing I want you guys to garner from this chart is just the fact that Hex is up 3 times relative to Ethereum in just the first 409 days alone. Just the first 409 days. And with that, T shares are up 6,000%. 6,000. And that's off of a high of 10,000%. And if you look at that number on the left hand side, I mean, I use the base 2 logarithm scale. And there's a reason I use that. If you know anything about computers and bits, then you might click. But as you can see here, every peak and stop is pretty much at one of these numbers that is a function of that base 2 log. I mean, are we catching on to what's going on here? The network effect is real, folks. It's all math. It is all math. Now, moving on. Now post big payday, we're up 177%. Okay. This is going to become important later when I get to the halving charts. Right now, I really just wanted you guys to really see how well Hex is doing relative to what we see today. Bitcoin came out January 3rd, 2009. Ethereum came out, I want to say September, December 2015. Maybe a little earlier. I don't remember exactly. All I know is I was one of those people calling it a scam too. Yet here we are, 1,000% later. Or well, actually, it's up significantly more than 1,000%. Or it's up 1,000% now. But back in those days, nobody understood what was going to happen to Ethereum. Ethereum didn't make any sense. There wasn't a there wasn't a vision for it yet. So it was easy to call it a scam. It was easy not to understand it. Everything here was so new. Uh, and like anything that people don't understand, it's always going to be a scam. So there's not much you can really do except just accept it for what it is, right? I mean, as a Hexican, we all deal with this every day. I mean, I've literally had people that I know on a personal level tell me it's a scam, and it's like, how do I even know you? Like that's where I'm at with some people when it comes to this, because it's like you're literally calling the eighth wonder of the world a scam without doing any research. And of course, the same person that I'm talking about did no research. They did like a 10-minute Google search and thought they knew what they were talking about. And as you guys get to know me, you'll come to understand that that is not how I freaking roll. A 10-minute Google search isn't going to give you a damn thing. And in fact, Google isn't going to give you a damn thing. So refrain from using that. And I'm not really sure about DuckDuckGo either anymore, because a lot of the search results there are very mirror image to what you get on Google. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, for more on that. But we'll move right along. So I just really wanted to share this first chart with you guys, which will always be my first chart, my go-to, because it's really the bellwether chart. It should be the chart that we use to really gauge the health of the system, of the hex system, versus everywhere else. Because the reality is that the value proposition for a crypto is non-existent if it does not have an actual use case, right? The utility. What is the utility behind this coin? For a long-term hold, like we're like that's the thing, right? We're all buying hex, or we're all getting into crypto to get paid. Nobody is getting into crypto to do anything else. Like changing the world doesn't happen with ideologies. It happens with an idea and action. And with action, it requires resources. Resources in today's age comes in the form of money. And that's why money is important, not for any other reason. And that's that, right? Like that's pretty much where it ends from that perspective. So Hex has its own value proposition, its own. It's not given by some externality. You don't need a legal proclamation here. Hex just works because of the code, and that's it, right? And then that's not to say that we don't need human intervention here and there, because of course we do. But the reality is that there's certain aspects of our lives where that is not necessary. And that aspect is literally when it comes to finance and figures. Excuse me while I live in New York. Let me mute the sound in the back. Sorry. Ah, the luxuries of living in this lovely city. All right. So moving right along. Um, where was I? Yes, the value proposition. The value proposition are the T shares. The T shares are what pay you the interest. More T shares you have, the more interest you make on a day to day basis. So the whole reason we're here is to buy this coin, hold it, forget it exists, and wake up in 10, 15 years rich. We all saw what happened with Bitcoin. We're all hoping that the same thing happens again. What we all don't know is whether it will or it won't. And my objective is to prove to you that it will. And I hope that I can relay that information accordingly. And we're going to start with what the network effect is. And that's really what's going to help us understand that this is really probably going to fucking happen. And it's probably going to happen faster than we all expect because the network effect is a real thing. It's not a joke. It's simple mathematics, right? And that's really all it is. So, what is the network effect? Why does it matter? Why do we care? Well, the network effect is literally a function that, if you've ever heard of, what's this guy's name? Oh, I can't remember his name now. I think it's Murphy's Law. And Murphy's Law is a law that lets us know that ever so often, because of the network effect, uh, the ability to store data is going to increase twofold. And that's where we get the 2 to the n from. Or not, it's not where we get it from, but that's the effect it has on the system, right? It's just an exponential function. And that's why our ability to store data increases twofold every year to the point where we can now store terabytes, gigabyte, or picobytes, or whatever. I don't even remember anymore at this point because I haven't looked at that type of scaling in so long. But you guys catch my drift. When I was a kid, we used to store megabytes. Now we're up to terabytes and up, right? So this is exactly because of a network effect. Literally. It's not because of anything else. It's not because of technological advances. However, the technological advances are a function of the network effect, right? So it's one of those things that it gets very circular, but it's not. And we're going to start right now as to why it's not. So the network effects are the incremental benefits gained by an existing user for each new user that joins the network, right? And that makes pretty clear sense. Now, why is that? Let's take the two types of network effects into consideration. You have a direct network effect, and then you have an indirect network effect. A direct effect is where the value of the service simply goes up as the number of users goes up, right? And that's like, think about like a straightforward market where supply and demand is linear, and that is essentially what we have in our ERC20 market, where we are relying on AMMs, automated market makers. We are reliant to a certain degree on the direct effect because the value of this service, i.e., Hex, will be going up as the number of users goes up, because the number of users will not be going up because people are selling it, right? That clearly cannot make sense. That's redundant. That's inverse of what we're talking about here. That's mathematically impossible. So, in order for the value of something to go up, it must receive adoption, right? And we've all seen this throughout our lifetime if we're over 25, because we saw Google, we saw Facebook, We saw all of these social media apps just explode because of human adoption. And not just domestically, but it globally, right? Not just in your local country, but globally. And this is why these companies have so much power today, because they have so much reach. And that reach is easily attained via the network effect, because the value of that system, that network, increases with the more people that are on it. That's why, for example, Facebook has so much control over what people think, see, and hear. Yeah, hear, right? On a social media platform, but it's because of this network effect. This network effect is their ability to reach out and control what you see, hear, and do, or read, or see, hear, and watch. And it's the same thing for any other tech company, right? Because they're all reliant on a network of some shape, form, or type. And the peculiar thing about this is that it's always been the case. It's always been true since the beginning of time. We just were not able to describe it as such because we did not have the mathematical capability, at least in our era of our human species. We weren't able to explain it until Mr. Murphy came up with the Murphy's Law, which essentially explains this network effect in a mathematical form, because that's literally all Murphy's Law is. And that is why these tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon have such a large reach, such a strong effect, and such a tight grip on everything we do, right? I mean, like, for example, in my building, if you order something from Amazon, there is now they changed the key sensor for you to get into the building. In my building now, Amazon could literally don't know none of these people, right? I know you don't, because I don't, and I live here. They could literally swipe a little sensor, and boom, they're in the complex. They're in the apartment complex of where I live. No problem, no questions asked. That simple. That's a function of the network effect. Now they can literally go into your garage, go into your truck, go into your apartment complex, such as me. Never in the history of ever has that been possible, where some third party can just come, invade your personal space to deliver you some good. Right. Now, it might sound like I'm being a little overzealous with the privacy, but you have to understand everything has a price. No convenience is free. So we'll keep moving. Now we'll talk about the indirect effects. I'm pretty sure you guys have a very good grasp of the direct effect and its relevance in this function that we're talking about here, because Hex is really a function, right? Every crypto is a function, and every function is going to operate as such. Inputs go in, yield outputs, right? That's how every function functions. So the indirect effect is where the value of the service increases for one user group when a new user of a different user group joins the network. Now, I have a little example pasted here, and I'll read it out because I thought it was good and I thought it would allow us to be able to. Hey, what's going on, HEXUSDC? Thanks for joining, brother. I thought it would be good to just take this example and swap out hex elements, because it's really that simple. And I think that's that's what's crazy about this. It's literally that simple. I mean, look at Bitcoin, look at Ethereum, look at all of the cryptos that are zooming higher for no reason. It's because of the network effect. That's it. It's straight math, straight code. This is how it works. It's not my opinion, it's just verifiable fact. Again, it's all around you. You can see it everywhere. It's literally not my opinion. I'm just relaying the information so that you can become aware. Because I understand that most people just are not. Because I've been talking about this for years and nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. So hopefully it starts becoming widespread now. So we're going to be taking Uber as an example. As more riders join the platform, the more useful and valuable it is to drivers because they have more business opportunities. The reverse is also true. As more drivers join the network, riders have shorter wait times and more locations available for their rides. Thus, the network is more valuable. Right. Now, let's take this and let's dissect it because this is very important. This is exactly why we're here. Now, let's take Hex as an example. As more buyers join the product, the more valuable it is to those that already own the coin because they already own it. And now, the reverse in this case is not necessarily true, right? Because the reverse isn't really possible here. You can't reverse in this scenario. The reverse in this scenario is selling. And that is the antithesis of any reason why anybody would buy a crypto in most cases, unless they're just trading it, right? Most people are going to buy and hold. And the reality is that you cannot sell anything short unless it's in some type of derivative form or it has a separate blockchain that has that type of order book that allows you to do so. But no ERC20 token has that ability. So for Hex, the alternative to the reverse is also true, is this ancillary fact is also true. As more stakers, as more buyers of Hex stake the coin, owners of said coin will have shorter wait times as higher prices will be available, thus making the network more valuable. And that, my friends, is literally how we are going to get rich. Because that is the caveat that Hex has that no other coin does. Not only is it going to benefit from the direct effect via the AMM on ramping, right? Like you literally cannot have Hex unless you buy it from a market maker on a DEX. So what does that mean? That means that you have to take somebody's order down that's willing to sell it to you. It's not just sitting there. Somebody has to be willing to be on the chain making that liquidity for you, right? We have already talked about liquidity, X times Y equals K, how that function restricts the market and how it doesn't restrict it, right? There's a very good GameStop, AMC, all of these stocks are flying, right? It's not because of some chat room, as I alluded to earlier, just to pit people against each other. I work on Wall Street. I'm a regular dude. Most of the people that work on Wall Street are regular fucking people. They're not one percenters. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. The people that work on Wall Street that are one percenters are not people that work on Wall Street even know. So this is something that has to be cleared up. There's a lot of misconceptions going on out there, and people just have to understand that, just like in every other industry, you're gonna have people there that are just there to collect a paycheck. They're not there to be all stars. They're not there because they love what they're doing. They're not there for any reason. I mean, it's like people that buy Hex and FUD out. Like, what? What are you doing? Yeah, I mean, let me go back to the chart, the first chart. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? There's literally zero reason to ever sell Hex. I mean, if you need any other kind of persuasion, I mean, I have another chart that is more persuasive than this one, but wow, just wow, right? Like what? This has been outperforming everything since day 90. It only took Hex 3 months to outperform the OGs. Moving right along. So again, we'll take Hex as an example just to highlight the nuance in Hex and how it's a multifaceted coin that not only benefits from the direct effect, which is typical. It's typical. It is typical, right? The direct effect is typical in from a technological aspect. Typical. And again, this is math and code, so this new form of making money is the way it was supposed to actually have always been. But that's a conversation for another time. Trust me, I got a lot of knowledge to drop on you guys, and I hope you guys are willing to take it all in because it's a lot. Um, so you have a coin that benefits from the direct effect. The benefits from the indirect effect. The direct effect is people buying it on the exchange, and that is onboarding new users. That's essentially that. The indirect effect comes via the staking of the coin. The staking of the coin benefits us as stakers and even coin holders, right? Like, that's the thing about Hex that people don't understand. You win regardless. You technically don't even have to stake the thing because it's going to go up no matter what. But it defeats the purpose of buying Hex. You might as well buy some other crap because here you have the advantage and the privilege, thanks to Richard Hart, of owning a crypto that's not a project, that is a finished product and pays you for holding it. And it only goes up. But the important thing to understand is that even though this can only go up, we must realize that the 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 evolution of a market is a function of how humans evolve. Now, what does that mean? We're going to see shortly. Because the halvings, I'm going to go over the halving charts. I'm going to go over the BTC halving charts versus Hex. And I'm going to relay this very nicely because I think you guys are going to really appreciate this because it's essentially the same thing. But just to highlight one final time, because I really, really think it's important that we understand this as a community. You have a direct effect where it is essentially us onboarding new Hex users, and anytime somebody buys Hex in the market, which is the only place to buy it, right? Either through ETH Hex or through, either through Hex ETH or through Hex USDC. Those are the only two ways that the direct effect can happen. There is no other way. And the only way to reverse a direct effect is by selling. That's literally the only way. Okay? The indirect effect has also an inverse, and that's called when the stake ends, right? But at the same time, have to remember that that indirect effect is also dynamic. And the opposite of that indirect effect, of the positive of that indirect effect, is not, how can I say, it's not constant. It's not repetitive. It's not on a schedule. It's not on a consistent schedule, right? And what I mean by that is you'll have a ton of stakes coming out on X day, but a week ago it looked a certain way, right? Let's say a week ago we looked at the staking calendar, and a week from that day, which would be today, we saw 10 billion hex coming out. Scary, sure. But what we don't know, and what I've noticed that constantly happens, what we don't know is what's actually going to happen when that 10 billion of hex stake ends. And if there's something that I've been realizing, I don't know if you guys have been catching this, is that those stakes actually never ever come out. They never come out. And let me just give you guys an example, because there's this guy I talk to on Discord pretty frequently. He's kind of the first person I really had an intimate conversation with about Hex. Uh, and we noticed that there were going to be like 3 billion Hex coming, that the stakes were going to end from the 31st of December through the 3rd of January of 2020 through 2021. And we for sure had our plan together. We were going to exit on the 20th. We were going to be planning to exit on the 30th and see how it went, maybe, and all this, just dipping your toe in the water type of thing. Just seeing how it was going. And, well, I don't think I have to tell you guys. We all know what happened on the 30th going into the 31st. I mean, Hex basically tripled in less than like 12 hours or something. It was crazy. So, how does that happen? Is that normal? Does that make sense? Why does a price move up like that and then come back down? Why is that a thing that constantly happens? And why does it take so long for Hex to come back up? Right? Like, I know people are tired of waiting for the dip to be over and whatnot, but that's just not how markets work, right? Think about the human experience. The human experience is one of, if you're a normal person, right? Some people have better experiences than others, and others have even worse experiences than what's normal. An average person, and I'm gonna pull up a hex chart, the version one. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the version one, the Uniswap version one, just because I like taking a look at the whole historical point of view, even though the liquidity isn't the same. What I'll tell you guys is that even though the liquidity isn't the same, the price structure is what matters the most for us from this point of view, from this stance. So that's what we'll be focusing on. Now, the thing I want you guys to focus on is the fact that this is a log chart. And why does that matter? The reason that matters is because we're not going to miss the moves that matter, like here to here, and then here to here, right? I mean, let's take the log off and see what happens. I mean, it looks like a pancake. This doesn't look like what we were just looking at. And that's why Richard lets people know you got to look at the log chart. I mean, I understand that if you're not a person that studied finance or maybe even math, I don't know, you're not going to be taught this. So now you know log charts are the key, especially in crypto where everything almost starts from zero and even less than zero like Hex did, or less than 1 cent like Hex did. So it's a very important aspect to keep in mind when you're looking at these charts. You want to make sure you're looking at them the right way. Now, I'm going to make a statement that most people will not agree with, but I will quantify and qualify it mathematically. Hex has never, ever, ever had a bear market. Ever. Ever, period. Okay? Has it dipped from its most recent high? Yeah, sure it has. That's not a bear market. It's not. A bear market is not what they say on CNBC. I'm sorry, it's not. That's wrong. That's not a bear market. That's a dip, and you buy the dips. A bear market is literally what we had in the 1930s. Okay? If you want to look at what an actual bear market is, let's be real here and let's take stock of some reality. Okay, we're gonna pull up this SPY chart. We're gonna look at 1 month bars, and hopefully we can go back. Oh no, we can't go back. Crap. Let me pull up all-time Dow charts. And I know I have this saved somewhere, but I didn't think I was gonna go into this, so I'm sorry for being unprepared from that perspective. But I will get you guys there shortly. Have no fear. Let's see if we can view this. Oh, come on. You're killing me. I guess I can't maximize this. I thought I could. But that's fine. Long story short, this is an actual bear market, okay? A bear market is not something that retraces from its highs and doesn't breach the previous low. A bear market is something that goes up just like we have in this historical chart here for the Dow, going back to the crash of 1929. Okay, this is an actual bear market. All right, not a 20% dip from the fucking high, not a fucking 50% dip from the fucking high, but we're gonna need to look peak to trough from the previous run to the most recent run. And if that bad boy doesn't eclipse that thing by 100%, is it really a bear market when you're talking about something that looks like that? No, that's really a dip, right? Like, let's just be realistic about certain things, and let's keep our minds in order, because it's very important that we keep the facts straight, especially with something like crypto, because it's so new, it's so scary to a lot of people, because it's not like you have like with the legacy stuff, right? We're all familiar with the legacy finance stuff. If not, I will detail. With the legacy finance stuff, everything is laid out for you. Again, it's centralized. So somebody is showing you what they want to show you. They're not showing you what might or might not actually be there. And yes, it might sound a little tinfoilish, but trust me, hacks happen every day. Banks do what they want with your data. When you put your money in a bank, it is no longer yours. It is theirs. That's a fact. Try to take, if you have over $100,000 in that bank, go try to take it out right now. Let me know how quickly you can make that happen. You know you can't do it quickly. It's 2021. They're probably going to try to arrest you if you do that in 2021, given the new administration we have right now. So good luck to you if you ever try to do that in America. Moving on. So when you look at this chart, it's supremely important to realize Hex does not have bear markets. It does not. Does it dip from the most recent high? Yeah, sure. But what doesn't? Your heart beats in a cyclical fashion, but you still grow older. Does that sound familiar? I mean, it looks familiar to me when I look at this chart. Right? We start at December 2020 or 2019, and like everything else, we pop down, and then we never look back. And now I wasn't involved. I had no idea Hex existed then, but man, I sure do wish I did know. I'd be retired already. And that's the thing. I am supremely confident that this pattern will hold as long as the network effect is true. Now, what does that mean? The network effect can only be true if and only if the items that we recently discussed are true, where we are continuously onboarding new users and where people are continuously staking, right? Because the reality is yeah, people are going to be selling Hex. People are going to be ending stakes. Because again, we're here to cash in too, right? we're not just here to ride this and then just die. We're here to also spend some of this future mad gains, because let me tell you, they will be mad. They will be mad. And just like the gains will be mad, all the haters are going to be mad too. And that's just a fact of life. And that's okay. But it's important to understand the inverse, the inverse, the inverse, right? We know now what's going on, Marcin Hexagon. Welcome aboard. We now know what gives us the higher prices. We see it. We've seen it. We see it every day. Every day. And that's the beautiful thing about crypto. Exactly. Exactly. That's the beautiful thing about crypto. Money bags are real as long as you understand the network effect in terms of digitization, right? Because what's happened now is that we've taken social interaction and digitized it. We've taken entertainment and digitized it even further to the point where we don't even have to leave our homes to experience entertainment, right? That's really a 21st century phenomenon. That is not, that's right, stake a class 100,000. That is not something that's old. That's very new, right? And for most millennials, they might not understand that, but if you were born before 1988, you probably understand that. And these are the things that we have to take into consideration, right? The network effect is very real, but it's also very volatile. And why is that? It's very volatile because you can have invisible hands in the way. Invisible hands only do but so much in this type of scenario. Because guess what? A Robin Hood can't come in and say, oh, no more buying. We don't want you guys to get rich. Sorry. And a TD Ameritrade can't come and say that. No brokerage can come and say that. Because guess what? There's no brokerage here. This is all you. 24/7, 365. That's what crypto's all about. You taking advantage of the situation in hand, which is finding the right coin to buy and hoping that the network effect takes hold on that coin. That's all crypto is. Period. Period. And that's something that you have to understand. That's why Bitcoin, stock to flow model works, right? You have X number of Bitcoin. You have Y number of buyers. You have Z number of sellers. These are the three constants in every market. And that's important to understand. Supply, buyers, sellers. That's it. So once we take stock of those three items in the appropriate aspect, there is never a reason to ever be flustered with a dip, especially when it's on a 45 or 35 degree angle, 30 degree. Let's call it 25 to 30 degrees just to be conservative, okay? Now, I'm going to make a very, very dangerous forecast. Yeah, Hex yeah is right. But I think it's one that is going to be true. And that is that we already have the double dip. And let me let you guys know, this is going to be a major move. The move we're about to see is going to be major. It's going to be major for a couple of reasons. One is anytime a market just, I mean, as you guys have seen before, anytime a market just does nothing, and by nothing I mean go sideways, all that is, like all of this right here, and I mean, the big payday really showed me something. It really showed me something, and I'm going to highlight that in the coming charts. Because what you really have to take stock of is just the fact that the quantity of people rushing out of the door from early November through big payday and a few days after, phenomenal. Phenomenal. It was like nothing you've never not seen before, right? It was the complete opposite of people trying to run into Walmart and Target on Black Friday back in the day. I don't know if people still do that, but that was a thing back in the day. Where people like trample each other to get into stores for Black Friday because that used to be American culture. I'm hoping it's not any longer, but that's what people here used to do back in the day. So looking at something like this, right? It's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous because it can instill this false sense of confidence, right? But it's important to understand that Bitcoin was this young too. And this is where we go on to the next chart. Yes, this has been the part I've been waiting to get to because it's my favorite part. And this is gonna be the showstopper. We're gonna just talk about Hex post big payday because that's really what matters, right? Um, Bitcoin didn't do anything until it halved, right? Like it was just kind of like whatever until it halved. After it halved is when it really took off. Um, and there's a reason for that, right? Like the first Bitcoin halving gave 73,000 or 7,300% return. The second Bitcoin halving gave 669%. The third 375. So are you guys kind of seeing uh, the relation here? Things happen in proportionalities, right? Whether up or down, right? And I'll go back to the first chart just to show this one more again. Now again, this chart is in log base 2, right? It's in base 2 form. Now, what were we talking about earlier? The network effect, weren't we? The network effect is a function of Murphy's law, just in English. What is Murphy's law? 2 to the n. Now, Google base 2. You're going to see a very, very similar set of numbers. 2 to the first power. I mean, hell, let's just do it in Excel. Why not? It's funner that way. Let's do some math. I like math. Let's do some math. So we got base 2. Because I really want you guys to just see this. Because this is just so gangster. The exponent. Right? Because it's really 2. What we're looking at here is 2 raised to the power of n. Which is this exponent. Right? N equals the exponent in this case. And this is a typical exponential function. Right? We can literally take every step along the way and just watch these numbers grow. Right? Just doing a little math here. Please bear with me. All right. Okay. I guess I didn't have to go that high, but we'll just go up to 2 power of 8. Why not? So as we can see here, we stop 2 cubed is 8. 2 to the 4th power is 81. 2 to the 5th power is 1024, and so on and so forth. And I mean, you know, let's do the inverse of this, right? Because log is something similar. I'm not going to get into the details, but it's something similar. So the inverse of 2 to the power of n is really the root of, right? But I'm not going to get that technical. What we're going to do is we're going to take the low grade route and we're going to literally just invert this and go n to the 2, right? So here the base is going to be n, and the exponent in this case is going to be 2. So in this case, it's going to be the inverse of this. Yeah, that's right. In math we trust. All day, every day. I don't even know any other religion. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't got time for anything else. So while it's not the same base that we would think of in log form, just think about it as base in terms of a foundation of what this function is going to operate off of. Because the base in this scenario is what's changing, right? And you can take the base as being that network effect driver. Are people coming on to the network? Are people leaving the network? That's the way you kind of want to look at it. Now, again, this is not something that can be said is concrete, whole proof. This is just to display the concept and try to relay it in a certain way. Because, again, it's important, right? N can be any number greater than 1. That's all n is going to be. Okay, and we're just going to, again, oops, what's going on? All right, we're just going to drag it out here and do some math. Hey, welcome guys, welcome back. Chat it up, do your thing. So now what we're gonna do here is we are going to get that power value, right? So the base in this case is going to be n raised to the power of 2 whoa. Oops, forgot to lock it. Boom. So you guys get the drift. Now, this is where it gets interesting. And let me just stress this out a little bit longer. Let me stop. Where do I want to stop? Yeah, you know what? Let's go down to 64. Yep. Boom. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you guys some numerical relationships that, while not obvious, will become kind of obvious and make you go like, huh, after you see them. Because again, it's about the system and how it works. And the important thing to understand here is that all of these systems really function in the same way. And the thing about it is that people just do not see this. And now you guys do. And this is going to become supremely important shortly. I mean, this is just so amazing. I mean, as I go through this, I'm just amazed at what I'm looking at. But I mean, of course, it's different for me because I kind of have an advanced, right, point of view as to what it is I'm looking at exactly. So we're looking again at the consideration of what is going on with this network, right? How do networks work? Networks work, again, as we discussed, log base 2. And that's what we're looking at here, right? Now, why does this matter? Why does this matter? Well, this matters because you have so many numerical relations And we're just trying to relay a concept here that shows exactly why this can only go up, right? And the important thing to understand is that while this might not be a one-to-one relation, meaning it's concrete, it's not concrete, it still holds true, because the reality is that this is an electronic system. It's a digital system. It's not analog. So the only way it could work is literally via the functions in the system. So it's very important that we focus on this little part. And the reason for this is because that's really the key, right? It's an electronic system, or it's a digital system, not analog, but it's a system where humans interact, right? They interact with a digital system. And that digital system controls the aspects and the facets of how the human interacts with it. And that's the key here, right? So we're looking at log base 2, log base 4, or really it's log base of 4, log base of 16, log base of 64, log base of 81, log base of 144, log base of 256, log base of 1024. You put that in wolframalpha.com, it has one of those, Googles for math basically. You'll get the N. The N values is what you're going to get. Is that a coincidence? No, my friends. It is simply motherfucking math. And that's it. It's really that simple, right? Like log base 1600 is 40. Log base 4096, 64. And and while I'm not telling you nothing you don't already know, what I'm trying to just really impress upon the community is the fact that this is mathematical fact. This is not my opinion. I am not making this up. I am not showing you anything that I'm making up. This is, as you can see, already built into the mathematical world, because I didn't create this function. I didn't create that number, right? These are all things that already exist. And that's why it's important, at least in my opinion, for me to relay that, because it's really that simple. And while simple, it's also very nuanced, right? And that's the thing that is kind of hard to grasp about crypto, right? Like, why does this stuff always go up? Well, because it's designed that way. It's not because anybody's smarter than anybody else, or anybody's picking the right coin or anything like that. It's literally a function of the network effect. So let's get into the good stuff that's going on this chart. That's right, Hex is fire. Hex, post big payday, is the hot pink one, magenta, as we all know. I try to use as much hex colors in my work as possible. Now, this is price data post big payday. So we're 58 days from that point in time. Now, this is going to blow your guys' rocks off. Hex is just obliterating Ethereum out the gate in conjunction with Bitcoin. I'm sorry, not Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't have any halvings. Excuse me. Bitcoin out of the gate. How so? Well, so far it's outpacing the first Bitcoin halving by 34% as of today. It's outpacing, yeah, that's right, Jetro. It's outpacing the second halving by 95%, and it's outpacing the third halving by 70%. Hex is doing that. Hex. Without any fanfare, without any influencers. I don't ever want to be a crypto influencer. I'm not on here for that. I don't give a damn about subscribers. I don't give a damn about any of that, or views or anything. The only people I want viewing my material, my content, are the Hexicans. That's right. All day, every day. We going to the moon on those rocket ships. And it's really simple. It's merely a function of how the coin was designed. And the beautiful thing about it is that Richard says it, right? Like he really says it in every freaking stream. This is going to the moon. He says it. However, the caveat, yeah, exactly. The caveat is he can't say it outright because he is the project. He is a project. So I'm going to be the one to say it for him. Because, again, you guys see it. It's not me making it up. Just look at all the tech stuff around you. It's in your face. It's in your face. In 5 years, I would not be surprised if Hex is at $1,000 or 5,000, to be honest with you guys. Because again, Bitcoin did 7,300% after its first halving. Guess how many halvings Hex has? Oh, that's right. Only one. Yep. That's it. Have a nice day. So, yeah. So you guys see what I'm saying now. This is very, very simple. This is very, very simple. And I'm going to keep all of these metrics, I'm going to put them on my site. My site's going to basically be on all of this stuff. All this data that I'm relaying is my site is going to basically be about all of this stuff. Is going to basically be a comfort zone for the Hexagon community whenever we're just not going anywhere, because people just need to understand that it literally does not matter. It doesn't. No matter what. No matter what. Oh, I can go over the XO part again if you want, Chris. Just let me know. Let me know. Not a problem. Because it's really basic. It's just log base stuff. Sure, no problem, guys. I'll go over that stuff again. Oh, but I think I deleted the chart. I deleted the table. But that's okay. We can do it again. Let's see if I can control Z that. Nope. But that's all right. Easy peasy. So basically, what I'm showing is the effect of log base. Of log, right? What I'm showing here is how log functions work. Right? And this is all we really are trying to show. Right? Like, let's take this image for example. It's a very basic log base 2 function. Right? Very, very basic. And the only thing that I'm showing is that as you go across the x-axis in time, because of the network function and how it works, this is essentially what's going to happen to hex price, because it has to happen, right? And all I did with the Excel was show you guys how it relates to the price returns as we see them going off of this log base chart here, or this log 2 chart here, right? If you look at the first stop in Hex, it happened at 160%. Okay? Then you see the dip, the first dip to be bought happened essentially at 80%. Right? This pop here is probably 240%. Probably in the same area, 240%, 280, 290, something like that, right? But look at what happened at 320%. Zoom, straight to 256, or 200 to 2,560%, right? Like this is the relation I'm trying to show you, right? You go to 2 is going to be a function of something else, right? And that 2 is embedded in the way this code works because it's log base 2, right? Now let me go find something else because I want you guys to see these numbers without me even having to do them in an Excel spreadsheet. Here we go, base 2 numbers. Oh, nope. Boom. This is good, but not quite. Let's see, let's see. All right. This one is actually pretty good, but it doesn't have enough numbers. I'm looking for one that will at least go out to 4 digits. Let's see if this. Nope. All right, this is good enough. Binary base. Oh man, this is horrible. Okay, I hope you guys. Let me know if you guys can see this. There's a little delay, so I'm just gonna wait for you guys to reply. Okay, good. All right. So this is what I was talking about with the log base 2. Base 2 is just a number system that computer systems use to operate. I could get into the why, but it doesn't matter. It's just what they use. And this is what I want you guys to see, right? Base 2 across the board with the exponent +1 each time. 2 to the 0 is 1. 2 to the 1 power is 2. 2 to the 2 power is 4. 2 to the 3 power is 8. 2 to the 4 power is 16. And so on and so forth. Exactly. Exactly. So now you guys, I think you guys have a better understanding of what it is I'm trying to relay. So I think now we can go back to the chart and go at the pit stops, right? We got 8. Where did we get 8 from? Right here. Well, that's really 80 in hex terms because we ballers, right? And the dip, it stopped right above 20 and in between 40. The first one at 30. This is not a coincidence, folks. This is what I want you to understand. This is all mathematics. Now we're going to go one dip at a time because I want you guys to understand how real this is. Okay? Now, what other number? We got 8 and 16. From 8, 80%, right? Boom. 16 here is 160%. Dip to 20. Boom. Back up to 160. This was really the 160 zone. We dip back to 80. Retrace of 50%. Never to be seen again. Never to be seen again. Never, ever going to be seen again. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? This means something happened here on March. I know the date because we all know the date. That was the day that the market, yeah, that was the day that the market came and just stopped, right? And I'm going to pull it up on the chart just because I just like looking at this date. It looked like the world was going to end, and boom, something came in and it just reversed it. March 12th. March 12th, right? March 12th, March 13th. And the funny thing is, that's exactly how bottoms happen every time. Every time. Every single time. Never fails. You have a market, looks like the world's going to end. Have the market open the next day. Looks like the world's really going to end. Only to rip your face off. Never fails. Never fails. But in Hexland, we don't have to worry about that because we're not here for the trade. We're just here to hold it and go to sleep and then wake up paid. Literally. It's the only reason we're here. If you want to trade, that's cool. I feel you. I trade too. but you're in the wrong. You're just in the wrong bucket for that. I'm not ever gonna talk about trading from a hex perspective because that's literally pointless. Uh, you're just wasting your time and you're wasting your money. Um, that's pretty much it. I can do a I could literally do a whole stream on why that's a waste of money, and I could lay it out mathematically, of course, because dollars is what we care about. So, what's up, Nate? What's up? Welcome aboard, brother. So, I'm gonna keep running through these numbers because they're important. So, now we're at log base 2 of 4 and 5, right? We already saw what happened when we had that 50% retrace from log base 4 to log base 3, right? Which is 8 to 16. Boom. From 80% all the way to 250 to 2,560. Now, that's 2 to the 8. Okay, we don't have it here, but I'm going to show it to you. This is where Excel is going to come handy. Okay, the base is going to be 2. The exponent is going to be 1 plus, right? Where we're going to be going up plus 1 every. Oh, actually, we start at 0. That's probably why it didn't look right to me the last time. Base 2. Yeah, let's go out to base 10, right? Power value. Thank you, man. Appreciate that you guys are getting this. I really do. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's just by default, man. If people understood what trading was really about, they would probably not trade. Took me a long time to figure that out. And again, it's about understanding what trading is about. It's about making money, right? It's not about turning it into an investment. And that's kind of why people end up turning, what are supposed to be trades into losses or so-called investments, right? I mean, everything starts out as an investment, or I'm sorry, as a trade, and it ends up becoming something that it's not. So now I will revert back to this chart and pull up this here. So, I mean, this is really some gangster shit I'm just giving y'all, man. I hope y'all really fucking get this. I will go over it as many times as possible. I don't care, but I really need y'all to get this because this shit is crazy. It's crazy. So now we're at two. I really need to get one of those pointers. We're at 2,560% on the chart. Okay, we're right here on the chart. So now we're gonna follow. We're gonna trail back in time and see where the dip is gonna take us. And the dip takes us from. Yeah, oh my God, my brain is like on 100 right now because I'm realizing something. And I hope you guys are catching it. So the retrace was a 50% retrace once again. From 256 from 2,560% down to 1,280%. Well, A1 analysis is all we got around here because that's all we do in Hexland. We don't got time for promise shit. So we just do the real shit. So I hope you guys see this. I mean, this is crazy. And wow, right? We have Hex coming out the gate, 100%, takes a dip to where it's supposed to now, right? Because we're going off of the basis here. We're going off of the basis, and the basis always leaves us, right? Either in between or at in a retracement. And we have the proof here, right? We have it goes out the gate, retraces. This looks like it's what, 60% or something in between base 8 and 4. Something like that, right? And then it zooms up to 160%. Goes down all the way back down to here because that always happens in the promise coins or in any initial offering. Sorry, any initial offering, this is gonna happen most of the time. I think there's very few that this didn't happen, and I think Google might be one of the few. Maybe I think even Netflix just didn't like. It's rare for us any issuance to do well out of the gate. It's just extremely rare. So the reality is that this little piece right here, while we can analyze it, we have to understand what we're analyzing, right? Because the reality is that the network effect doesn't really come into play until this dip, because that's when we really start seeing it take hold, right? And that's the key. When does it take hold? I mean, and the thing about it is, right, is you guys are seeing it. This is not my opinion. This is literally what it's doing. I'm just relaying the information so you guys can understand what it's doing. Because again, this really is not specific to Hex. It's really not. I mean, I doubt it is. I doubt it is, because any crypto that's out there that people interact with, it just moves like this. And I don't feel I need to mention any names. We all see the returns. We all see the promise coins that are zooming. Every flea, every dog has his day in the sun, as they say, right? So let's move on. Now I'm gonna bring the Excel back into view when it's necessary, but I just want you guys to keep seeing just how important this. And I just want to keep a little snippet. Maybe that's better, instead of the whole Excel sheet. Yeah, that might be better. Instead of the whole Excel sheet. Give me a sec, guys. Let me just prep this for you so it's not in the way of the visuals. Alright, I guess this is as good as it's gonna get for me. Alright, that's not too bad. I can tolerate this. Alright. So back to it. Okay, so we see support is currently, oh man, this is so crazy. Support is currently 120, or not currently, but where we're tracking, support is the 128, or the 1,280% area, aka log base 2 of 7. Okay? So that is what's going on down here for this whole period of time. Now is when we get into a little physics. An object, now, I don't even want to get this wrong, because I really want to give you guys everything A1. So this is when we pull out the interwebs one more again, and we're going to look up the 3 basic laws of physics, or 3 Newtonian laws of physics. Because there's a reason they're important, and I'm going to really relay them shortly. And the thing I want you guys to understand is that when I was a math student in college, I had to literally internalize this shit. Like, it wasn't fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to do like a whole report on Isaac Newton and everything. Like, I know more stuff about this guy than I like to know, basically. So the first law states, and let's zoom this in because this is just not really pleasant from a viewable perspective, at least from my point of view. Yeah, yo, physics is, I shouldn't be in finance. I should be a computational physicist, but whatever. That's a story for another day. The first law states that an object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted on by a net external force, aka the normal force. The second law states that the rate of change of momentum of a body over time is directly proportional to the force applied, and occurs in the same direction as the applied force. And now the mathematical short for this is force equals mass times acceleration. Well, hot dog, that sure as hell does sound motherfucking familiar, doesn't it? Shit, where the fuck did I hear that at before? I think it's time to whip out the Excel. Let's see. We have this physics equation called force equals mass, right, times, now anything in parentheses means it's going to be multiplied more than likely, mass times acceleration. This looks eerily familiar to something else that we all know and love. And if your mind isn't going fucking holy shit by now, then I don't know if I can help you. Oops, I actually did this wrong. But let me just... to relate it to what's actually being displayed in the second law of Newton's second law. Mathematically, I mean, this only matters because of the market makers. I'm not trying to get into the math of Newton's laws, just to be clear. I just want to relay the simplicity of what's going on in crypto, because it's really not complicated. And what I want you guys to know is that you guys are really the only ones that now know this. And not just know it, right? Because anybody can know anything. But it's being able to receive this information in such a way where you know you can come back, review the material, and make yourself connect the dots. And again, I'm on Twitter. You guys can DM me. Any questions? Anything. For my Hex fam, I'm always available. So now let's go over the third law. The third law states that all forces between two objects exist in equal magnitude and opposite direction. So what that means is if you have one wall versus another wall and they're going in opposing directions, is this written right? Ah, alright, sorry. I was reading that wrong. So basically, third law states for every action, there's a reaction. Boom. I don't know why they wrote it like that, but it's fine. We'll keep it moving. Because that one doesn't really matter in terms of crypto. For every action, there's a reaction. For every seller, there is a buyer. For every buyer, there is a seller. That's really all it is for us. But it's important to understand that that's always a netting transaction, right? And that's why, like, for example, just to relay it to this conversation, coins that are payment mechanisms don't ever go up in value. At first, I did not understand this myself. Took me a little while, but I ultimately did, which is why I stopped holding the original stable coins. And I think if you've been around the crypto space for a long time, you know it's not Tether and it's not USDC. I'm not going to mention these other coins because, again, they're not relevant to the conversation. But if you'd like to know because you don't, you can hit me up you can hit me up on Twitter. Again, Whales Only. I've been around for a long time in the crypto space, and I know what the first stable coins were, and they weren't a buck, and they're still not a buck. FYI. So with that said, the first law states that, yeah, all day. The first law states, Hex fam, all day. The first law states that an object in motion stays in motion. An object at rest stays in rest. And now, the most important one to me is second law, right? We have already kind of discounted the utility of the third law because the third law, that really only applies to shitcoins, right? Hex isn't a shitcoin because nobody's going to be using Hex to pay for anything. Like, If they do, sure, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's not material. And for this discussion, I mean, really for any discussion, it's not material. Hex is a superior Bitcoin, and I mean that's really what it is. Most people won't call it that, but that's really what it is. And we're gonna get into that. Like, I mean, uh, I think I could give this talk like a million times and then it'd just be better every time. But this is really what it is. It's a superior Bitcoin. Period. That's exactly what it was designed like. And I'm gonna make it a little clearer shortly. So first law states that object in motion stays in motion, object at rest stays at rest. Second law states that force equals mass times acceleration. And now we're going to proceed to relay this to what matters to us. And that is this fun and amazing looking chart. So we are now at a juncture where we're starting to see exactly what's going on as far as the price movements of cryptocurrencies go, right? Because I want to be clear. While I'm relaying this to Hex, I want you guys to really understand that the odds of this being specific to Hex and Hex alone are very, very small. Because again, every crypto is designed, while designed differently, it is designed to function in the same ecosystem, right? And that ecosystem is digital. And that is, I think, the important thing to understand here. Okay? So let's try to wrap this up because I know I'm kind of being very detailed. I'm going to have to find a way to like break this down because this is so much useful information. It's kind of crazy. But let's take a look at the first law. First, Newton's law states that an object at rest stays at rest. And conversely, an object in motion stays in motion. Hex, out the gate, was in motion. Motion, 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 boom, motion, motion, motion. That's a whole lot of motion. And the first, oh, well, look at that. That's almost right around the 128-day mark. About a few days off, but right around there. It looks like it's right around the 144-day mark. 144 days. Now that I mentioned that, man, I'm just going to keep dropping this math knowledge on you guys. I know you guys have heard of Fibonacci sequence. I can give a whole class just on Fibonacci and the golden ratio by itself, and that would probably be longer than this stream because that shit is everywhere. Oh my God. And I just found it again, and I wasn't looking for it, and it's just one of those things that us math people will see. And just to be clear, by us math people, I don't mean myself because I have a math degree. I was mathematical before I knew I was, and that is the universal language. Everything operates off of math. The rest of the world is trying to explain what math explains already, just using text or alpha characters. You know what I mean? So that's what's going on. So what I noticed is that at the 144-day mark, 144 is a Fibonacci number, and a Fibonacci number is basically the preceding two numbers equaling that number. So if we go back, we can start at the beginning. We go 0, 1 is 1, 1, 1 is 2, 1, 2 is 3, 3, 2 is 5, 5, 3 is 8, 8, 5 is 13, 13, 8 is 21. Now what I'm doing is I'm summing up all of these numbers. That's why I'm going up steadily. 21 plus 13 is 21 plus 13 is 34. Sorry, little brain fart there. 34 plus 21 is 55. 55 plus 34 is 89. 89 plus 55 is, guess what? 144. Now, what I'm about to do is I'm going to go into my Excel data sheet, and I'm going to look at where the 102 the 200 2,560% return stalls out, just for posterity's sake, because I don't think I can wait until the stream is over to check that. So please bear with me while I confirm this craziness that is mathematics. Please. 144. 144. 144. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This shit is crazy. All right. I'm going to have to share this little snippet because this is fucking insane. All right. I'm making discoveries on the live stream of the mathematical variety. I'm sorry. I know nobody cares about that stuff, but you're going to fucking care once you see how this shit gets your ass paid. Give me a second. All right. Just wow. All right. So I'm going to take a snippet, a new one, just to share with you guys, just so you guys can see the power of the stuff that I'm talking about and the seriousness of the network effect and Fibonacci sequence and so on and so forth. Because the reality is, again, math is real. Everything else is trying to explain it. And it does a really poor job of doing so, might I add. So let me minimize this Excel sheet so I can see any comment you guys are making. All right. Now, I don't know if you guys can see this. If not, let me know so I can just take a. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm sorry. I know it's a lot. Yeah, but as you guys can see, um, math is everywhere, man. I mean, look at this. What are the odds of this, right? What are the odds of the network effect being this real, right? Because that's what I'm trying to show you guys. I'm trying to show you guys that we literally have nothing to fucking worry about. That's literally what I'm trying to explain to you guys, in conjunction with the fact that this shit is gonna skyrocket like you cannot fucking imagine. Because again, the value proposition is there. It is a finished financial product that pays a yield, a double digit one on top of that. That literally does not exist anywhere in the financial world. And if anybody would know, it's me, because I fucking work on Wall Street. So, you know what I'm saying? Okay. I'll show I'll retake the snippet El Hexadente, and I'll show it again. I'll show it again in bigger form. So not a problem. Not a problem. I see what you guys are talking there. Y'all funny. But I'll go back to the snippets for the days, but I just want to oh my god. I just want to keep going here so we can at least wrap up at least the important parts. So once we hit shit. Um yeah, I think this party has started, guys, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Um So as you guys can see, we're now basically parlaying on this here level, or we parlayed on this level on the 120 on the 1,280% return level for approximately 144 through. All right, I'm sorry guys, but this is turning out to be approximately 144 days. It just went sideways. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm making all these discoveries as I'm going along. I didn't prepare for this to this degree where I thought I was gonna be making this fucking discoveries. So sorry, but that's basically what's going on here. So okay, yeah. So now the new support level is a 256. Oh, this is ugly. So the new support level is now the 2,560% return level, which is what we saw for a period of what looks like approximately 21 to 34 days, which are also Fibonacci numbers. But the question now is, well, we've touched the 2,560% level, tested it. We now know its support. It's been tested as support after it was resistance already, right? We saw resistance at us over the 144 day mark. And again at the 233 day mark, which is the next Fibonacci number after the 144 day number. Go figure. Quite the coincidence. And then we come down here, 44 to, yeah, approximately 34 to 40 something days later. Bottom out, 1,280%. And as always, the market makes you think it's going to puke, right? Let's go back to the 80 days, to the 90 days. Early on in the chart, if we go back to the last time it touched 80%, March 12th, it looked like it was going to go down and never come back up again, which is what we saw here. Not a surprise. It's what markets do. Markets are about max pain. And the interesting thing is to see how crypto does it, because crypto doesn't do it like legacy markets do it, or does it, which is an interesting thing. Moving on. So now we know we've covered the 1,280% return space, the 2,560% return space, and now we've not only breached the 5,120% return level, but it looks like it's now going to become support. Holy shit. But guess what, guys? Guess what? We got one in the, not in the rear view, but on the horizon, right? And the beautiful thing about it is we already touched this level. We touched it, guess when? A few days after the 377th day of Hex being live, which is also a Fibonacci number. That's the number after 233, which is the number after 144. I'll post them on Twitter for sure. I think they're actually already on there, but those are the ones from yesterday. I will post the updated ones today. And I did state this earlier, but I'll state it again. I'm creating a website, and that website will have this data. That website will basically be a site that has all of this information. Sorry, guys, for the Hexagon fan. I want this site to be a site that you guys can come to, look at the data, understand it. I'm gonna apparently have to write up a whole bunch of stuff explaining all of this Fibonacci and power based crap. So people can understand it, because the Hex community needs to understand there's never a reason to sell. And the sooner we all understand this, the quicker we all get rich. Yeah, it's that simple, because again, the network effect is real. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a whole lot of work. I have no idea. I'm just really just laying out what I've been seeing for 10 years and just never put on paper or told anybody about it. Outside of like people that don't want to listen to me, because nobody really cared about crypto until this year. So go figure. Um, but yeah, Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's not my idea. It's how the log function works. And that's what I think we have to really get a grasp of. This is really going to be a log function like I showed you guys earlier. And let me pull this chart up again. Jeez, I don't. Let me just. Aha, here we go. Like, I just really want you guys to understand. Um, you know, this chart, while linear, right, is essentially what Hex is doing. And what you guys need to understand is that we don't have a log base 10 system here. We don't have a log base E system here. We have a log base 2 system here. And I just showed you guys this. Literally, just showed you guys this. Right? So, you literally are looking at the actual projection for what this coin is going to do. Okay? This is not like conjecture. This is real as fuck. Like, this shit is real as fuck. I really need you guys to understand this. This is not some pie in the sky, hope some shit might happen type of scenario. This is what is going to happen, what is going to happen, what is going to happen once the network effect just continues. It's just going to continues. On the RH random line. Any thoughts on the RH random line? I'm not right hand Do you mean right hand random line? Which one? Which line do you mean exactly, Gabriel? Do me a favor and just let me get a little more color on what you're looking for exactly, so I can be more explicit. But yeah, this log base 2 function is exactly what we're seeing here. The only reason it doesn't look like that is because it's a squiggly line. Because we're humans, we have to interact with this digital ecosystem, and we're not rational actors. We're not anything, right? We're just human beings that are interacting on the basis of what we think we know is going on. And humans never ever have all of the information that they need to make the appropriate decision. That's why finance, or just making money with money, for example, is so difficult, because it's not something that you can just walk up to the bar and just do it. Got it, oh, Hexadente. Thank you. So my thoughts on Richard's random line, guys. Just give me a second because I need to take care of some. I need to make a little banging noise, and I don't want to be rude to you guys. So just give me a second, please. Sorry about that. I hope that did not come through. So my thoughts on Richard's chart. Um, his chart is basically a scapegoat chart, right? You guys have to understand Richard's position. Um, he cannot make any promises as the creator of this coin of any type, right? He is in a precarious legal position, and that's something that we have to understand anytime he does a live stream and we're interacting with him. When he answers questions about Hex and what it could do, there's a very good reason he says, I will never make forward looking statements. Number one, he doesn't have to. And I just showed you why. Literally just showed you why. Uh, Number two, he'd be a fool to do so because he'd be exposing himself to legal risk for no reason. And nobody needs to do that. But number three is that he's trying to give us, and let me tell you, he gives us not crumbs, not crumbs. He gives us full course meals, in my opinion. Because and the reason I think I see it more than others is because being a part of the financial industry is a whole lot of doublespeak, a whole lot of, what's the best way to put it? A whole lot of watch what you say, but say what you gotta say going on, right? And that's equivalent to exactly what Richard is stuck having to do when he's doing a live stream, and why he can say this is not financial advice. And look, I'm not giving you guys any financial advice. I'm merely talking about the network effect. The fact that cryptos are digital has nothing to do with me. So this isn't anything financial. This is merely technological fact. So, I don't have to say this is not financial advice, because this is not financial information. This is merely educational information on how the network effect functions in conjunction with digital systems. And a cryptocurrency is, guess what? A digital system, a digital ecosystem. So that's what we're seeing here. And I'm really, really glad that you guys are enjoying this, because I really, really wanted, specifically the Hexa community. Again, I don't really care about the rest of the crypto market, because when we interact with and again, look, I gotta give you guys some background on me. I've been around since the pizza transaction. Okay, I was around when nobody understood Bitcoin. Like, I didn't understand Bitcoin. By the time I understood Bitcoin, I think that thing was already at $3, even though I had the chance to buy it when it was fucking trading at nothing, right? And this is why I feel the urge and the desire to relay this information, because I ultimately came to understand what drove or what drives cryptocurrencies. And the important thing to remember, and this is really important, is that Bitcoin was the only one for a long time. A long time. And the reality is that it's still really the only one. Because people don't know that there's a shit ton of other coins out there. Yeah, lots of OGs in the shadows for sure. For sure. And I'm one of them. Because look, I left the crypto industry alone for 4 years. 4 years, because I left before the market even topped out in 2017. And the reason I left is because it was pretty obvious that the industry was going off the rails when everybody and your mama can do an ICO. Because that's exactly what was happening. It's the equivalent of what we see in the legacy markets with the SPACs now. And a SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company. Basically a blank check company that these people that form them, if they have nice financial ties, it's basically like a SoftBank. You can think of it like that. It's essentially a blank check company with the hopes of it becoming the next SoftBank, literally. And while SoftBank might not have started as a SPAC, that's what SPACs are trying to emulate, FYI. So yes. So we have the first law, first Newton's law. An object in motion stays in motion, an object at rest stays at rest. And as of day 377 of Hex, that bad boy is in motion. Now, the question is, what's happening right now with the pause? Now, I know there's some guy that posted this chart. I can't remember at all who it was. It was when I first joined the Hex community and I first got on Twitter, because I had even gotten off of Twitter and everything. Like, I was completely done. I'm only on Twitter because of DeFi and Hex. First it was because of DeFi and I didn't really care, but then once I found Hex, I was like, all right, I need to get on fucking Twitter. And as you guys know, I'm not on Twitter all day. I'm just relaying important information, and that's really it. I'm not on there. Of course we're gonna talk shit because it's fun to talk shit, but that's not the primary purpose of Twitter. Um, but there was this chart where this guy posted essentially the runs in price. It will go up X number of days, sideways X number of days, up X number of days, sideways X number of days. And while this chart kind of looks like that, it's not an exact replica. And I'm going to have to find that chart just to give you guys a side-by-side comparison of what this is. Oh wow. I'm very humbled that everybody that's watching the stream or has watched. I mean, okay, there's 11 people watching and there's 11 likes. Thank you all so much for liking. Usually you don't even see that kind of, proportionality here. So that's, to me, is crazy. So thank you all very much. I appreciate that. So right now, Hex is at day 409. At day, what looks like to me to be 300 and, yeah, right around 377 Fibonacci number. It jumped up, topped out. Now we're in a sideways phase where the market is recoiling for that next slam dunk higher. Next slam dunk higher. That's right. Slam dunk, because that's what it's going to be. Now, I'm pulling the snippet back out again because now we need to discuss the second law. And I'm going to show you guys what the next level is going to be after for the 10th evolution after log base 2 of 10. Now, we're going to relate second law. Force equals mass times acceleration. And this is where the direct effect comes into play. This is the direct effect. This is the indirect effect. Exponent power values, indirect. Force equals mass times acceleration, direct. And I hope you guys can see the similarities. This is the automated market maker function. Literally, this is it. X times Y equals K. If you've watched Richard's streams, you've heard him talk about it an infinite number of times. This is where that comes from. Now you know. This is not fake. This is real. There's a reason. Exactly. There's a reason we went from 320% to 2,560% in what looks like 20 days, 21 days, which is another Fibonacci number. These things are everywhere, folks. So, what is the next level to look for returns? And how much higher could we realistically go? Right? Because at the end of the day, man, like, let's be honest. That's what really matters, right? Like, fuck the bullshit. Everybody's here to get paid. I'm tired of working. I know you guys don't like working. If you did, your ass would not be here right now. So, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how high this bad boy can go. Boom. And it just so happens that my oh my. Let's go. Let's zoom to some other charts. Okay. This is post halving, aka post big payday. Look at Hex versus Bitcoin. I just want you guys to stare at it. Just give it a good look, because your mind's about to get blown. Just give it a good look, okay? I'm going to just keep working on my pipe here while you guys take a look at that, because I really want you guys to study this chart. I want you guys to dream about this chart. Have it be the first thing you think about when you wake up, because this is the chart that nobody is looking at. This is the chart that nobody is looking at. Nobody. Okay? Now, why is this chart important? Now, Richard has alluded to this significance of the halving, especially the first halving, so many times that it just kind of slapped me one day while I was just playing around in Excel. And, fuck, man. Like, what does that mean? Right? Like, I had to sit down, take all this data, and just fucking crunch it myself, because looking at random shit just doesn't do it for me. I gotta feel it. I gotta be able to understand what's going on so that I can explain it, because that is how I'm able to internalize information and be able to relay it to a point where not only do I understand it, but the person that is trying to understand it can understand it as well. And look, I just want to be forward with you guys from the jump and just let you guys know, if you have a question while I'm talking and I'm saying something and it's not making sense, interrupt me. I don't mind being interrupted at all, because the last thing I want is to move on to another topic and you guys not be crystal clear on something that's important, because everything that goes on the stream really is important, because we're all watching to understand what's going on and receive this information. So for me, it's important that you guys interrupt me if need be. So I just want to get that out there. So here we are. We're now looking at the halvings, trying to figure out, is there anything here that can let us see what might or might not be coming? Let's take a look. So, as we look at this chart, I can already see where a price hit 128% and pulled back. But it pulled back to the 120% mark. This chart does not seem to be operating off of the base 2 function, similar to the full return stream chart for Hex. Interesting to note. Not the end of the world. Because again, it's important to understand that what we're looking at here now, is something that has been somewhat altered to a degree. Right? But now the question is it really? Because what did we just see in the previous chart, in the first chart that I showed you guys? We saw clearly that out of the gate, the power 2 function, the power function does not take hold right away. We gotta wait. Has it taken hold yet? Actually, I think so. Now, the thing that upsets me is that I didn't see it before. But that's okay, because that gives us opportunity for further streams. And that's the beautiful part about it. So check it out. We have this dip here to what looks like the 128% area. But that's after a pop to what looks like the 128% area, right? Then price goes down, skyrockets to the 256% area. And now it's taking a break, really just there, waiting to see what it's going to do before it does another one of these. Because that is how Hex moves. Literally. I mean, we already see it here after the beginning of the post big payday price action. Right? So this is going to be the chart we're going to want to follow to see exactly how Hex is evolving. How high can it really go? Now, we have the first halving of Bitcoin at 7,300%. Second halving, 669. Third, 375. Hex is Hex is at 177%, 58 days after its first halving. Oh, excuse me. The only halving. Sorry. Excuse my English. Every halving at this point in time is behind. Hex at its current age. Now, we just went over the network effect. And you guys are about to be fucked in the head when I tell you what I'm about to tell you. Because I don't think people really understand. And I'm going to try to help you guys understand. We have to remember all of the things working against hex adoption. We have to remember all of the things working against the network effect taking hold for hex. We have gatekeeping everywhere you go. Bitcoin maxis calling hex a scam without even knowing anything about hex. Thank you, Marcy. Much appreciated. I work hard on these charts for the hex community. Much appreciated. Oh, wow. 12 to 12. Man, look. Thank you guys for every single like. I truly appreciate it and unexpected, honestly. Um, Bitcoin maxis hate it because it's not Bitcoin. Gatekeepers hate it because it decentralizes trading. That's the reality of it, right? It keeps their pockets slim, right? Like we talked about the other day. Why is it we can advertise crypto exchanges or whatever, anything crypto related that can be advertised that's not to benefit you? Wow, thank you for the 13th like. Wow. Um, Everything that they allow for crypto to promote is not to your benefit. Now, I want to deviate a little bit just to point something out that's related, but not really related. But just please take note that everything that happens. Oh, can you guys hear me? What the hell? I think I might have messed up with the microphone. Okay. I think you guys might hear me a little better now. Um, Let me know if you don't. I could try to adjust the volume if not. Um, what was I saying? Okay, thank you, Jetro. Um, Gatekeepers. That's right. So we got the Bitcoin maxis hating, and Bitcoin's the main coin. So when people go and listen to so-called crypto influencers, oh wait, no, crypto influencers are a separate category all by themselves. Bitcoin maxis just happen to be a part of that group. Um, so it's important to keep that in mind. Um, no, you can post a chart on Twitter at HEXUSDC because this is gonna be public information for the community. This isn't for me. That's why I'm doing this live stream. I mean, share the live stream. Let people know I'm on talking about this stuff. They can start watching it from the beginning. This is information I want to share with the community. This information is not for me and you guys. This is for everybody. I really want the community to understand that Richard Hart knew what the fuck he was doing, man. Like, this shit is, it's, to speak in layman terms, this shit is a fucking no-brainer. I mean, as I tweeted the other day, it's literally free money. I mean, I wish, and I don't ever talk like this because this is a childish way of speaking, but I wish I was paying attention to crypto a year ago. I wish I would be retired already. Straight up. Straight up. Just, oh my God. Sorry for the sirens, guys, but this is the luxury of living in a city. That city being New York. Right? Like, I would be retired, like, rich, right? Like, I wouldn't be working anymore. I'd be fucking live streaming 24/7 and shit. What the fuck else would I have to do? Just fucking doing math for you guys. Because this is what I enjoy to do. This is what I enjoy doing with my time. So, you know, I want this information out there for everybody to understand that this is simple. Buy, hold, stake. Get paid while you wait. And then get paid some more. And that's it. No more, no less. Right? So this chart is going to be the one that lets us know how we're doing for real. This is going to be the actual temperature check. Because this, I mean, come on. We're 34% ahead of the first halving, 95% ahead of the second, and 70% ahead of the third, at 177% after the first 58 days. What? Bitcoin who? Moving on. Now, this is one of my most favorite charts because it really lays out the value proposition in Hex, right? This is so important. Now, on the left hand side, we have T-share value per ETH. On the right hand side, I'm sorry, this is actually wrong. Let me see if I can fix this. This is actually incorrect. This should say T-share per Bitcoin, but you get into those robot. I hate when it does that. Okay, get into those robot modes and you just forget. I guess I'm gonna have to write it since this does not want to play fair. T-share per BTC. All right. There we go. Yes, sir. Thank you for laughing at me. Much appreciated. I'm a stickler. What can I say? Um, so we got T-share per ETH, which is the highlighted orangey looking line, and then we got T-share per Bitcoin, which is the pink line. Now, think about this for a second. Just think about this. We all know what happens to T-shares. We all know. There's no need to go into detail. If you don't know, let me just give you the gist. The gist is that they're ever deflationary, meaning they will always go up in value, meaning it will always cost you more to earn interest. That's very important. Why is that important? That's important because that is that second facet of Hex that no other coin has that gives it its convexity. What is convexity? Convexity is that added velocity to the acceleration in price, right? So essentially, what we have when we're looking at this equation is a two-variable equation, right? That's typically what that is called, meaning we have two determinants for the actual value. So x and y are the determinants, and the value here would be k. Okay? So the reality is that there's actually three. There's not two in Hex. Hex has three, not two. So that is why people don't understand it. That staking function is, oh, that's an ugly two. But that staking function, and I'm gonna make this a Z as best as I can. Bear with me. That staking function is the third proposition, is the third value add. That's that convexity that we can basically count on, right? Because that's the whole point of this damn thing. I don't really see how anybody's buying this coin and not staking it. So that's a given. So that is what we don't see in this equation. And that is what, I just gotta get rid of this because this is just too ugly for me. Sorry. But this is what we have to understand as a Hexican, right? I mean, really, as an analyst of any kind, you really have to understand what the value proposition is of any asset. But since I'm talking specifically about Hex, we're going to lay it out in those terms because that's what it's about, right? So we're talking about, we've already hit a high of, yep, I did this wrong. Jesus. Give me a second, guys. Ugh. Ooh, you guys weren't supposed to see that chart yet. That's a good one, though. Let me just fix this because I'm just killing myself here with the stupidity. All right. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. So we've already hit 40% of an ETH in terms of value. If you have any questions, Pi, let me know. I will try to clarify whatever you can't understand. I'm really doing my best to put this in layman terms. So please let me know if I need to break it down any further. I'm pretty good at that, so don't hesitate to shoot questions my way. Please don't hesitate. So we've gone from essentially zero value for both Ethereum and Hex, or Ethereum and Bitcoin, as a percentage via a T-share, to going all the way up to 40% of value right before a big payday, it looks like. Yep. Looks like it happened. It looks like it happened. Shit, what is this? Yeah, right around big payday. That's right. Right at the beginning of November. Oh, well, there you go. You can share it with them. Boom. Pass it right along to them. No problem here. Yeah. So we reached that high right at the top of November, right before big payday. But this is versus Ethereum, right? The orange line is versus Ethereum. The pink line, sorry guys. The pink line is versus Bitcoin, right? But Bitcoin now, we've hit 10 10 basis points of value, which is a lot, right? We're talking about Bitcoin at 30,000 the other day. So 25,000, 20,000. That's a pretty big value. So becoming 10 bips of, you know, understanding the value proposition in Hex is critical. And this is that vision, right? This chart gives you that ideal. It gives you that reality, that vision. Oh, you're welcome, Pi. You're very welcome. Glad that you are waking up to this outstanding stream. Um, okay, everybody's early and we're all the way behind over here. Okay. Um, so this is where we're at with Bitcoin, right? This is where we're at with Ethereum with respect to T shares, right? T shares as a percentage of Ethereum and T shares a percentage of Bitcoin, right? Now, the question is, why is there such a deviation? Or there seems to be one. There seems to be one from Ethereum to Bitcoin. Now, it's important to remember that Ethereum is the network where DeFi exists. So the value should be greater, right, with relation to Ethereum because that is the network closest to it. So that is the network that it should track the closest because it is an ERC20 token. And guess what? It just so happens, let me take you back in case you forgot. Yeah, we're 3 times ahead of Ethereum and we're only 409 days in. And we are on day 410 of the live trading. This is going to be an amazing ride, folks. Amazing ride. I think it's pretty clear, right? I mean, what's interesting to note is that the most recent price pump where we hit 2 cents, New Year's Eve, the Ethereum was so out of control that Hex couldn't even keep up, right? But here's something that's very important to take note of. Look at what happened when it went back down to 8% of a T share. Let's take a look. 8% is right here, basically. 13, the difference between 13 and 6 is what? 7. We take that, we cut that in half, it's 3.5. We round down, make it 9. Why not? So that's basically 8. 8, 9, same difference, right? Because again, when it comes to trading, investing, precision is ever elusive. We can try to attain it, but it's never going to be there. And that's something we just have to be okay with. Precision is ever elusive. It's only something we can hope to attain. It's not something that will ever be attained. So I just want to let you guys know that. So that's why I'm okay with speaking in round numbers and not being precise. It's not necessary. You're going to make money regardless. It's perfectly okay. So from here, we'll move on to the final chart, which I think is a chart du jour, which is why I saved it for last. It's a crazy looking chart, I know, but hear me out. Let me explain this. Oh, that heading is actually wrong as hell. Uh, this is what happens when you don't prepare, folks. Give me a sec, guys. I don't even know what to call this, so I'm just gonna leave it blank for now. I really don't know what to call this. I'm sorry. Um, so this chart is crazy. This chart is showing you the hex value per T share. So the value of hex per T share. All right. Now that is what we're seeing on the left hand column. The T-share value. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry, guys. Let me fix this again. Oh, God. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Just give me a second to get this text in this chart. Okay, and let me actually fix this. I don't think you guys will appreciate that the same way. All right. Okay. So that yellow line is a very peculiar line. And that line is a line I want to harp on because I think it's probably the most important line with respect to hex. And that line is detailing the value of a hex per excuse me, the value of a single hex per T share. Okay. So at the beginning, hex and the T share were almost equivalent. That's basically what this chart was saying, right? At the beginning, it was equivalent, but as Richard lets us know over time, um, T shares are very elusive. So the reality is that since this is a ratio, that chart should always be going down. Sorry, guys. That chart should always be going down. It should never be going up, ever, right? This chart should always be going down. So whatever happened here, I think might be an anomaly with the data set, something towards the end. I'm going to look into that because it really doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to happen. For the line to have a little squiggle in it where it like ratchets up a little bit is one thing, right? But for the line to completely bend back like that, something has to be wrong with the data with where I got the data from. And this data for this came from GRAPHHEX, so I'll take a look again. I think that data isn't actually static, and I think that that might be why those value well for those data points because they're very recent. And I'm thinking that might be either the past couple data points that I'm using. I think it's either the last one or the last two. But that's why at the end of this chart for the past 2 or 3 days, um, this little piece is pointing up. But this should forever be getting dragged down. Now, why is this chart important? I'm going to tell you why right now, and you're going to like this. Um, we know T shares are going to always be more expensive, right? That is the time value of money for us in Hexland, right? Because again, it's not even really time value of money. It's just a deflationary facet of a currency that's supposed to exist. It's yeah, look. I already have like a 3,000 page or 3,000 word thing typed up on so many things that I know I can take and splice and dice into something else. That's just going to be useful for everybody because it's important to understand one, how value is created, what determines value, who determines value, how value is determined. Those four things, while they sound the same, they're not. And the most important thing to understand is that value is created by you and me. It's not created by a machine. It's not created by the powers that be. It's created by the mind, what the person wants. So this is why advertising is so important. This is why Richard is so adamant about marketing Hex, promoting Hex. It's infinitely better than it being listed on any coin market crap site. It's a fact. I mean, look at the chart. It's been gate kept for a year. I'm sorry, it's been gate kept the whole time. The whole entire time. So, I think that this, once people like understand this, I'm hoping that this will get the community to stop wasting their time complaining the coin market crap and all the other sites. Like, it's really a waste of time. We don't need it. It's a fact. What would add value is actual campaigning, like actual campaign, actual advertisements, actual grassroots, actual spreading the word. That's infinitely more important than an than a gatekeeper gatekeeping us. That's there's a thousand coins on those sites that don't get any action. So the market cap thing, it's a smart strategy. I get it, but again, it's being used against the community for no reason. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's still up 3,000%, so they can use whatever they want, and that's the beauty behind it, right? Like it literally doesn't fucking matter. So that's what this chart is showing, basically. Uh, the value of the T-share will always go up. Hex can only try to keep up, but it's its job to keep up, right? So if we look at the T-share index and we look at the Hex index, now the Hex index and the T-share index are just values of the return streams, right? So essentially, that 3,700% you saw in the first chart, that's what that number is over there. The T-share value is 6,100% over there, and the hex return value is 3,700 over there. So what we have to try to understand, well, at least this is what I'm trying to understand from this chart, is when did value escape hex, right? Because we can see it start to escape here, right? And that's day 277 or so. Yeah, about day 277 or so, 280, something like that. Where value starts to eclipse hex, right? And then big payday comes. Boom. Once big payday came, that changed everything, right? And how so? Now we have T-shares leading the way. T-shares always turn up first, always. And I'll eventually create a chart to show that as well. It's very easy to show. It's literally just a second derivative, so it's not that big of a deal. All we would be doing is just taking the rate of change, just like you see here, of the pink line. And that rate of change would then precede the upswings in the hex price. That's what would happen. And that would technically be the signal, because you would see the curve up in the rate of change versus that orange line. And that would be the obvious buy signal, because T-shares do lead hex once when price is going up. Now, not when price is going down. When price is going up. When price is going up, value of T-shares rise first, and then price follows. I've already been watching this. That's how it works. You can fact check me on that all you like. Perfectly fine. Give me a second for a smoke break, please. Thank you. So that's what this chart is showing. It's showing the value proposition in Hex, how Hex is reacting to the T-share value. Now, the question then becomes, because this, again, all of this is brand new, right? None of this has ever been displayed before in any way, shape, or form. Now, what's new here is the hex per T-share. I've never seen that anywhere. The return streams we've already seen.
and they look just like they did in the first chart. Nothing crazy there, right? What's going to be interesting is to see if this bend in the data is actually going to be permanent or not. And what I can do is I can go to GraphHex right now. And where is my web browser? I will go to GraphHex right now. I will pull up this data just to see. Looks like, are we having a sell-off? Let's check real quick. I'm checking on my phone. Give me 1 second. Yeah, market is selling off a tad bit. Eh, not really. This is just a dip to buy. The market's trading at 7.8 tenths of a cent. Excuse me. 7.8 tenths of a cent currently. So with that, the T-share rate is currently down. I like to take the T-share rate, T-share value, sorry. The dollar value of a T-share, that is. I like to take that around the same time every day. I usually don't pluck it dynamically. Um, so what that means is that this data point that I'm about to gather isn't any good for me, or isn't any good in my opinion, because it's not a final data point. So we really can't rely on it because it's still giving us that downward movement. Not to say that there shouldn't be one, right? But it should not be that big according to what we've seen in the past. So this is now a point in time where we might see something new in Hex, right? Like I don't know. We'll see. And yeah, that's where we'll leave it. I think I think I've kind of relayed that it's kind of a no limit situation. It really is a no limit situation. Um, T shares are going to drag Hex up. That's by default. And that's why T shares were created, really. And that's why, Richard harps on the importance of T shares. I mean, you're not getting T shares, you're not getting paid, basically. But, here's the crazy thing about it. At the same time, even if you don't stake, you still benefit from T shares going up in value. Because at the end of the day, you know, just because you're not staking doesn't mean a million other people aren't, or 26,000 other people, according to the Staker app, right? And shout out to Steph and Fireburn on the Staker app. That thing is a killer, and I am looking forward to the update. But no pressure from me, guys. Completely understand the development process. It's tedious, takes time, and we all need to just be a little bit more patient with them. Um, this Staker app is a tool all by itself. I mean, it doesn't exist in any other way, shape, or form anywhere else. The only things that come close are the typical suspects that we all know. Um, the yield farming homies, right? So, and that's a complete and utter, like, clusterfuck. And look, I'm a math guy, so it's not like I don't get complexity. And just to add something to something else on top of that, what update did you get, Pi? Let me know so I can um, elaborate if I need to further. Um, Damn, I forgot what I was saying. That happens to me a lot. But anyways, the value proposition is there for Hex. This thing is gonna be dragged higher. The T-shares are everything. The T-shares are, they're just, I think I'm gonna have to just do a whole separate analysis on the T-shares themselves, because I didn't really do it on the T-shares like I did on everything else, like the halvings and all of that. So I think it's probably a good idea. Ah, you got the update on the app. Got you. That's what I was talking about, the app. That's right. Damn, I'm sorry, man. Ugh, my mind is just all over the place with all these numbers. Yes, yes, yes. I have an iOS phone, so I don't have the update yet. But it's okay. I'm perfectly okay with waiting because I know once that comes out, whoever is waiting for me to onboard them will be more than happy because they're all people with iPhones and they're all waiting for me to give them the green light. Oh, thank you, Pi. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Oh, very nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's coming soon. It's again, like I was saying, no rush to Steph and Fireburn. Firebun. Sorry. Um, completely get the development process. It's tedious hell. It took freaking Hex. What Richard says it was 10 years. 10 years, right? I mean, the guy saw Bitcoin rise. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. Just like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Now I don't talk about the shit he talks about, but I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and that's why I say what I'm saying, right? He talks about completely different shit. He can't tell you Hex is gonna go to the moon. But I just showed you that it's probably gonna go to the moon. It's simple. It has nothing to do with him. He just put it in code. That's all. So he can't say it because that would be a conflict of interest. That's all it is. No conflict of interest here. I didn't design this. I'm just letting you know what was designed. That's all. Network effect. Simple as that. Now, if anybody wants to contest that, let me know how telephones work then. How would we all have cell phones? We all started with phone numbers of you know, one digit. The first phone number was like 1 or 3 or some shit like that. Like I'm not even joking. It was like 003 or something. Like it was a one-digit number. And ultimately we got the 5 digits. And then I think the 50s, the 60s came, and then we got the 7. And now we're all the way up to 10. 10 digits. Okay? Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you here? All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Uh, you know, Hex is, I'm gonna create as many data sets as possible with or data as many metrics as possible, really, because there's so many different ways to dissect this. I mean, my God, this is just a beautiful thing. I mean, T share per ETH, T share per Bitcoin, that's important. I mean, I feel like we're setting floors here and ceilings all the time, right? The next thing is going to be Ethereum eclipsing 40% or Hex eclipsing 40% in Ethereum, or the T share eclipsing 40% in Ethereum, sorry, and the T share eclipsing 10 bips in a Bitcoin. Like, let's get it. And it's going to happen because phew, that's just the way it works, man. Like, this literally has nothing to do with anybody. That's just how it works. It's just what it is. And you know what? I'm a moron. I'm a moron, and that's okay because I'm gonna fix it now. Uh, let me fix this chart because I just realized that this number is wrong. This should be a 1.14%. And let me get a couple of zeros out of here. Yep, well, this changes everything, doesn't it? Oops. Enjoy your coffee, Pie. Thanks for joining. But yeah, so Yeah, my values were off. So this shit is even crazier than I thought. So yeah, there you go. 1% of a Bitcoin, which is not small. 40% of a T share, which is not small. Wasn't small then, not small now. Right now we're at 8% of a T share. So guess what? Now Hex has to calibrate or recalibrate with Ethereum. And this is where that log chart comes in, right? This is where that log chart comes in. Every time it recalibrates, it's going to recalibrate higher. It has to, because the T shares are going to drag it higher. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let me talk about price predictions. So, price predictions. They're easy, right? Because it doesn't matter as long as the trade isn't on. If the trade's on, then price prediction is everything. And it actually doesn't even matter then because the market is going to ultimately determine where price is going to go. So the question should never be where is price going to be in 2 weeks, right? We could never really know where price is going to be in 2 weeks. We could guesstimate where around it might be and hope to be somewhat in that vicinity, right? And this is coming from a very professional point of view. Again, I've been on Wall Street for 10 years. I've blown up many accounts. And you can't even talk like this unless you've blown up an account. Like, unless you've blown up an account, you can't even talk about trading. Like, you don't have a right to. I'm sorry. You just don't. So, it's just one of those things that you really have to understand how the market moves. You really have to understand how the market moves. And there's one thing I want you guys to understand about Hex. It never ever touches the same price level 2 times on a down move. Let me repeat. And please go look at the chart and confirm. And I don't mean on a freaking intraday basis, so don't come at me with that nonsense. Hex never ever touches the same low 2 times. Now, there's a very good reason for that, right? Because the dollar's always getting devalued, but that's fine. But it's important to understand that the whole crypto market doesn't move the same way. Very, very important, right? So, I see what you mean, Pi. Yeah, it's not even being in New York and you've been to Wall Street. Yeah. I've not been in New York. Yeah, so look, I was born and raised here. Um, Wall Street is, it's all right, man. It's just like any other place. You're gonna have people that belong there and people that don't and just are there. So, you gotta learn to deal with all of that, with all of that. So, you know what I mean? It's a hassle, man. But with all hassles come good things, and that's life. You gotta take good with the bad. But that's one thing you guys gotta understand. Hex is always gonna recalibrate higher, and T shares are the reason why. And T shares are gonna give it that log effect, log base 2, right? And that's really what it's all about. Now, there's a reason ETH 2.0 is coming out, right? Like, everybody's trying to be like Hex. Everybody. So, stay tuned. It's gonna be a fun ride, and Hex is gonna lead the way, man. It really is. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It's just a matter of time before everybody else catches up. So, you know, do yourself a favor, buy as many hexes as you can now, because you will regret not doing so in the future. And look, there's billions of these motherfucking coins, right? There's billions of them. hundreds of billions. Richard knew what he was doing. He really did. This coin was designed so that everybody gets some. Literally. Everybody gets some. Yeah, yep, I it's definitely gonna be a fun ride because you have to understand, a river, even a river, right? It's never forceful. Never ever 100% forceful. Rivers, while they move fast, they also move slow. And that's what we have to understand, right? We all hit growth spurts. We don't just come out the womb 6'2". Not how it works. So even something like Hex, right? Where, I mean, look, people really have to understand. This thing is up 3,700% in 1 year. I think everybody needs to just calm down and just sit back and relax. Take it 1 year at a time. If you take it 1 year at a time, life is good. Because this is Hex. You shouldn't be looking at this for at least 10 years. That's how long it took Bitcoin to fucking get to 30 G's or whatever price. I don't remember the numbers anymore because I stopped caring a long time ago. And to be honest with you guys, the only coin I even look at outside of what is this shit called? Ethereum is, or outside of Hex is Ethereum. I don't think of any other coins. And here's a funny thing. When I first got back into crypto, it was like everybody else, trying to find those magical coins. And the funny thing is, I almost bought the meme coin. Almost did. But, meh. Am I mad I missed out on the pump? No. No. Because I literally take every dollar that I come across and put it in Hex. It's not even a joke. Literally. I didn't pay rent for a whole month. And then I said, fuck it. Just to buy Hex for buy the fucking dip right after big payday. I didn't give a fuck. Fuck them. Literally. Like, you got to take care of you, man. Sometimes you got to just say fuck it and take care of you. One late rent payment. Boo fucking who. They shut the whole fucking economy down. Furloughed mad people. They didn't give a fuck. Why should you? And with that, buy as many Hex as you can. Stake them as long as you like. Take advantage of those t-shirt rates and have an outstanding night. The network effect is your friend. No financial advice is needed. It's all math and code, folks. Have an outstanding night.